Hello, my dear future chartered accountants. The discussion what you are going to have now is only regarding CA final SFM old syllabus students. These two chapters, what we are going to do now, capital budgeting and leasing, is there only in old syllabus SFM. It is now pushed into IPCC new syllabus. So new syllabus student need not read in final, but for old syllabus students, it is part of CA final SFM, which we are going to do it now. So without much wastage of time, let's move into the chapter capital budgeting. Capital budgeting. Now, capital budgeting is that whatever you have already learnt in IPCC level. Let me do a quick recap of that, then we'll come to the CA final level. You know, capital budgeting is investment decision about long-term decisions, whether to purchase machinery or not, whether to start a unit or not, whether to start a product or not, a branch or not, those kind of things. And there we had traditional method, modern method, time adjusted methods, payback period, accounting rate of return, net present value, internal rate of return, profitability index, and so on. And most important being the capital budgeting, we always calculate cash flows and not profits. So how do you calculate cash flows? We start from sales, we subtract variable cost, we get contribution, then we subtract fixed expenses, we get EBIT, earnings before interest and tax, then you subtract interest, what you get is earnings before tax, and subtract tax, what you get is profit after tax, and you add back depreciation, then what you get is cash flow after tax. Fine? This is one way of doing it. So basically, if you really observe, don't you think depreciation we subtract as well as we add? And that's why we had one more method to calculate cash flow, and that is earnings before depreciation and tax multiplied by 1 minus tax rate after tax plus depreciation multiplied by tax. Because why depreciation is relevant? Because it's allowed for tax purposes. So it's called as tax saving on depreciation or tax shield on depreciation, or because of depreciation your tax flow will reduce, that is a savings, that is depreciation into tax. That one basic, I hope you are aware of it. This is the basic cash flow. Fine. Now, if you want, quickly write down these basics. So ultimately we talk about cash flow and not profits in capital budgeting. Hope you have taken down. Good. Now, for important parameters, what we consider are, one is NPV, net present value, PI, profitability index, and IRR, internal rate of returns. So NPV is expressed in rupees, PI is expressed in ratio, and IRR is expressed in percentage. And NPV project has to be accepted means NPV should be greater than 0, profitability index should be greater than 1, and IRR should be greater than cost of capital, overall cost of capital KO or weighted average cost of capital WACC. Got it? Now how do you calculate NPV? That is present value of all cash inflows, that is all the respective year cash inflows multiplied by discounting factor. If every year cash flow is same, you can multiply it by annuity factor minus initial investment, that is going to be NPV. Profitability index means present value of inflows divided by investment. Instead of subtracting, you will divide by it. IRR means it is that rate at which present value of inflows is equal to investment. Is equal to investment. Okay, hope you got it. So these are the basic three parameters. One is subtraction, one is divided by, one is equal to, one is in rupee terms, one is in ratio terms, one is in percentage terms. This, you had many more like modified IRR, you had discounted payback period, but these are the three important measures: NPV, IRR, and profitability index. Okay, so with that basics of whatever you have already learned in the IPCC level, let's move into the final level, which is these kind of questions. Before we go into question, again this question what we are doing now is more of IPC level, but still just a basic discussion, then we'll take up the problem. Imagine you get offer from two companies once you qualify it as CA. Company A will tell you your annual package is 10 lakhs. Company B will tell you your annual package is 12 lakhs. Which one you are going to select? Obviously 12 lakh. The only one condition is the time period for 10 lakhs is you have to work only for, let's say, 4 months, and for B you have to work for 12 months. Now which one will you accept? 10 lakh by 4 lakh is 2 lakh 50,000, and 12 lakh by 12 lakh means you get 1 lakh. So you select this. No, you select 2 lakh 50,000. So overall it might be less, but per month it is more. So this is typically applicable for projects also. When the projects are of unequal life, NPV is not sufficient. You should go one step further. That is, you should make it comparable in annual terms, like the way what we did here. That is, absolute amount is converted into comparable terms. So NPV is in present value terms. So how do you express it in annual terms? You can't just divide by number of years. You have to divide by annuity factor. See, from a particular year cash flow to bring it to present value, how do you do it? From cash flow to present value, you multiply it by annuity factor. From the cash flow to present value, you multiply it by annuity factor. If I go in reverse, from the present value, I compute the annual cash flow, I will divide by annuity factor. This is what we discussed in the basics also. To compute the installment in the loan by annuity factor, that's what here it's called as equated annual cost or equated annual income, which is NPV divided by annuity factor. When you do this formula NPV by annuity factor, now the cash flow will be in annual terms. So both cash flows are comparable even though they are not having same useful life. So based on this, let us take some problems. This and all is not required. Yeah, question number 1. I have given the solution also. So no need to take down the solution. Just focus on getting the answer right. Read. Read the question. ABC Chemical is evaluating two alternatives for waste disposal, system A, system B, which have lives of 6 years and 4 years respectively. The initial investment outlay and the annual operating cost for the two systems are expected as follows: system A, system B. Initial investment outlay, annual operating cost, salvage value. If the hurdle rate is 15%, which system should ABC Chemical choose? PVIF 15% for 6 years as below, year PVIF. So one is having 6 years useful life, other is having 4 years useful life. So both are having different useful life. Therefore, in this case, we have to take the help of equated annual cost. Cost, because in this problem they have given information only about cost. System A is also cost of investment, B is also cost of investment, no information about the cash inflow. So I can't really compute net present value, I can only compute the present value of the investments. Okay. Now take a look at the solution, nothing to write down, I have given the solution. So initial outlay 50 lakh, 40 lakh, present value terms. Annual cash flow, what is happening? Annual operating cost 15 lakh, 16 lakh. But that should be brought down into present value factors. So you multiplied by annuity factor. Please remember, for A, we take annuity factor for 6 years. That means all PVIF is added. But second machine, we should take only 4 years. So we take only 4 numbers. So that respective annuity factor, this 3.7845 is 6 years annuity factor, and B is 4 year annuity factor. So 15 lakh into 3.7845 is 56 lakh 76,750. 16 lakh into 2.855 is 45 lakh 68,000. Therefore, that is the present value. And remember, you are having salvage value, terminal cash flow, and that also should be brought down into present value factors by multiplying not annuity factor, discounting factor. And discounting for 6th year is 0.4323 and 4th year is 0.5718. That will give you the present value. Then what do you do? This initial outlay is outflow. This 56, 76, 750 is also outflow, annual operating cost. But salvage value is inflow. So our net cost will be 50 lakh plus 56 lakh 76 750 minus 4 lakh 32 through 200. That will give you 1 crore 24 lakh 450. That is an NPV. Divide by annuity factor, same annuity factor. That is what the extra step here. EAC you get 27 lakh 6,949 and 29 lakh 911. Then because it's a costing decision, you choose whichever is less. And that is option A, machine A, annual cost is less, so that is being selected. So solution is there in the material I have given it to you. So no need to write down. Just take a look at these calculations. See if you have any doubts. This NPV is calculated by initial outlay 1 plus present value of cash flow minus present value of terminal cash flow divided by annuity factor will give you EAC. So 1 minute, please take a look at the solution. If you have any doubt, please ask, then we go to the next topic. 1 minute, please take a look at the solution. Okay, hope you have taken down. Hope you have noted down if, the important points. Solution you need not write down, since solution is not there. A solution is already there in the material. Okay, now let's come to the remaining topics. So what is the main difference between the capital budgeting at your APCC level and the capital budgeting at final level? At IPCC level, the element of risk was not considered. And now the topics what you are going to have, what you are going to learn will involve the element of risk. See, if I ask you a basic question, do you think CA will get you more salary or just a BCom will get you more salary? Of course, exceptions are there. I'm talking about general case scenarios. Obviously, CA will give you more benefits. Now, even though you know more benefits, why do you not do CA? Why do people do only BCom? Because the fact that you are doing CA is known, whether you complete CA or not, we don't know. Direct entry scheme is there, direct exit scheme is not there in CA. Therefore, because of risk, people don't do CA. Same thing applies for business also. It's not sufficient to compute the element of profit of the business. It's also very important to incorporate the element of risk. And one of them is risk adjusted discounting rate. Various methods are there to incorporate risk. None of them are best. We are having different methods for different situations. One of them is RADR, risk adjusted discounting rate. So essentially, my dear friends, what is NPV? NPV equals annual cash flow multiplied by annuity factor or discounting factor minus investment. And annuity factor means you apply percentage for n number of years. Discounting factor also same thing. So when you are having risky cash flow, this rate of interest also should be adjusted with risk, increased with risk. Higher the risk of the project, higher should be the discounting rate. And when discounting rate is higher, you know there is inverse relationship between the rate of interest and the present value. When rate of interest increase, so you know that when the rate of interest increase, the present value will decrease. So if there is a cash flow or the company or the project with higher risk, what we should do, we should take higher discounting factor, and higher discounting factor means NPV will reduce, present value will reduce. So higher the risk of the project, lower is the present value, thereby NPV is adjusted for risk. When the risk increase, the discounting rate increase, the present value will reduce, NPV gets reduced, gets adjusted to reflect risk. And the formula is this: risk-free rate plus risk premium into risk factor. This is very similar to the CAPM formula, RF plus RM minus RF into beta, beta risk factor, RM minus RF risk premium, RF is risk-free rate. So basic logic in this method is the company may be same, the firm may be same, the cost of capital for them may be same, but the discounting rate should be different for different projects, depends on the risk of individual projects. A project with higher discounting rate, a project with higher risk should have higher discounting rate. Got the point? Now based on this, let us take a problem. Question number 2. Just read, understand, nothing to write because all solutions have given in the material. Please take a look at this. New Project Limited is evaluating 3 projects P1, P2, P3. The following information is available in respect of these projects P1, P2, P3. Cost, inflows, year 1, 2, 3, 4, risk index. Minimum required rate of return is 15%, risk-free rate is 10%. Find out the risk-adjusted discounting rate, which project is the best. Now, look at the problem. Risk-free rate is 10%. Firm required rate of return is 15. Why are they expecting 5% extra return over and above risk-free rate? Because they are taking risk. When you take more risk, you expect more return naturally. Correct? Now look at the risk index. This P1 is 1.8 times riskier. So 5% is the extra risk you require, risk premium you require. 5% is not sufficient. You need to multiply it by 1.8, and this multiplied by 1, this multiplied by 0.6. So observe the calculation. RF is 10, required rate of return is 15, premium is 5, risk index, risk premium multiplied by risk factor, 5 into 1.8 is 9. 9 is the return required over and above risk free rate from project 1. And basic return you have to get risk free rate. Excess return you will get 1.8 into 5, that is 9%. Totally you require 19. Similarly 15. Similarly 13. A project with highest risk is having highest rate of return. Project with lowest risk is having lowest rate of return. Having lowest rate of return. So the fundamental thing about RADR is the company may be same, firm may be same, cost of capital may be same, but discounting rate cannot be same. Depend on the risk of each project. Risk adjusted discounting rate also will vary according to the riskiness of the project. So all calculation remains same. When you calculate NPV, you should take the discounting rate applicable for that particular project based on risk. Otherwise, the method of NPV calculation is same. So take a look at the next question. Yeah, so take a look at solution. I've given the solution in the material, so nothing to write down, just take a look at it. So for project 1, we take a discounting factor of 19%. For project 2, we take discounting factor of 15%. For project 3, we take discounting factor of 13%. Fine. So only discounting factor changes. So cash flow of the first project multiplied by discounting rate at 19, present value of cash flows, subtract investment, you get NPV. Then cash flows into annuity factor, discounting factor, present value of inflows minus investment, NPV. Similarly, last project, cash flows multiplied by discounting factor, subtract investment, that will give you NPV. Fine. That's what you are getting here, NPV. And look at the NPV, which project is highest? 83,100, 1,67,400, 2,14,000. Highest is NPV, project 3, that project should be accepted. So, so take a look at that question. You have solution in the material. See if you have any doubt. Please go through 1 minute. Okay, hope you got this one. Next, certainty equivalent approach. This is one more way of this is one more way of incorporating the risk. This is one more way of incorporating the risk. So what we did in the previous problem, cash flow was with risk. So discounting factor also with risk adjusted discounting rate. What do we do now? Cash flow we bring it down to risk free, discounting rate also we bring it down to risk free. In the previous method, both risk were considered, risky cash flows, risky discounting rate. Now both of them will be risk free in nature. Both of them will be risk free in nature. Cash flow is risk free, discounting rate also will be risk free. And how do you get risk free cash flows? By applying certainty equivalent factor. Now you see, after writing the examination, if somebody asks you, how was the exam? How will you react? I know, normal CS student and a doctor after his operation, and CS student after examination gives the same reaction. When somebody asks, what happened? You say, I tried my level best. It is not in my hand. Rest is left to God. That's what you would say, right? But nevertheless, you always say, I get 40 sure, more than that I don't know. Some sort of minimum amount you would know, right? Some sort of minimum amount you would know, right? You will tell like 40 to confirm, beyond that I don't know. You have some guarantee level. See, even if you do CA, you know minimum salary you get 55,000. Minimum you know. Beyond that you don't know. In the business projects also, you will have some guaranteed cash flow, maybe because there is a contract signed, or maybe because there is a past experience, or maybe because there is loyal customers. Whatever the reason, you know, from this project every year I get 5 lakh. Beyond that I don't know. That's called as certainty equivalent factor. So cash flow, whatever given, multiplied by C factor, certainty equivalent factor will get you certain cash flow. Certain cash flow means guaranteed cash flow. For example, if cash flow is estimated to be 1 lakh, certainty equivalent factor is 0.8, that means 80,000. What is 0.8? If 1 rupees cash flow I expect, 0.8 rupees is my guaranteed, confirm, sure shot cash flow. Beyond that I don't know. So take only the cash flow which you are 100% sure of, that is 80,000. And remember, this 0.8 does not mean probability. Probability means this is 80% chance, something else is 20% chance, we take both. That is probability. We'll come to it in the next segment. But here we're only talking about the certainty equivalent factor. That is, when I say 0.8, that means 80% is confirmed, 80% is guaranteed, 20% I don't know. So 80% is not a chance, 80% is 100%. 80% is confirmed. Fine. So cash flow multiplied by certainty factor is certain cash flow, then discount it at risk-free rate, you get present value, subtract investments, you get NPV. Fine. So let's take a problem based on this. Question number 3. The Textile Manufacturing Company Limited is considering one of the two mutually exclusive proposals, Project M and N, which require cash outlay of 8,50,000 and 8,25,000 respectively. The certainty equivalent approach is used in incorporating the risk in the capital budgeting propositions. The current yield on government bonds, risk-free rate 6%, and this is used as risk-free rate. They only have given the expected net cash flow and the certainty equivalent are as follows: Project M, Project N, year end, cash flow, certainty equivalent. Which project should be accepted? If risk-adjusted discounting rate is used, which project should be discounted with a higher rate and why? Second part of the question is theory. I'll come to it. First, you get the first part of the question. They have given the cash flow, then they have given certainty equivalent, then you get the certain cash flow. How do you get it? 4,50,000 into zero point 0.8 is 3,60,000. 5 lakh into 0.7 is 3,50,000. 5 lakh into 0.5, 2,50,000. These are all certain cash flows. Multiplied by respective discounting factor, which is at the risk-free rate. The present value you get, subtract investment, you get NPV. Same thing you do for project N. You get NPV. Choose the project with the highest NPV. Highest NPV is in project N. So project N is selected. Okay. So 2 minutes. Take a look at the solution. Nothing to write down. I've given the solution in material. See if you have any doubts. 2 minutes. Take a look at the question. Okay. So hope you have taken down, hope you have gone through the solution. Okay, very good. Next topic is decision tree. It's also called as joint probability. If one event can be done in m ways, other event can be done in n ways, then both of the event can be done simultaneously, one after the another, m into n ways. I don't know whether you understood. Now, let me give you a basic example. Suppose you know in CA there are 3 levels. I know foundation, intermediate, final. Let me take a popular name, CPT, IPCC, final. What is the pass percentage in CPT? I'll take 40%. I know I'm taking optimistic number. I will tell you why later. IPCC, let's say 25%. Final, let's say 10%. So if somebody asks you, dear friend, you are doing CA, can you guide me? I am planning to do CA. What is the pass percentage in CA? Tell them a factual thing. Don't take revenge on them telling do CA and all. Don't take revenge on them. So you tell them CPT 40%, IPC 25%, final 10%. That and all they don't understand. You tell them one number. They tell I want one number. Which one will you tell? Whichever is less? Whichever is high? Oh, we'll take an average. If 100 people join CPT, 40 people come out of it. And 40 people, 25% IPCC means 10 people come out of it, and 10 people, 10% means only 1%. So CA pass percentage is actually only 1%. It's actually less than 1%. I took 40, 25, 10, so I got one full number. If I take the real number, it will be less than 1. I can't explain fractional number and all. 0.2% comes. Yeah, by the time you pass, you will also be a fraction only. But for getting some round off number, I assume like this. Are you understanding what is happening? Cumulative probability, joint probability. If one event can be done in m ways, one event can be done in n ways, other event in let's say p ways, then all of them can be done in m into n into p ways. So first year cash flow with one probability, second year cash flow with one more probability, then you multiply all of them, joint probability you get. Scenario analysis. Fine? So let's do a problem based on that. Question number 4. Again, please have your concentration in understanding the problem, not about the solution writing, because I've given solution in writing. Except 1 or 2 questions, I've given everything in writing. So just concentrate on understanding. That is sufficient. Okay. Please read the question. Okay, hope you've read it. So if you look at the question, first thing is they ask us to draw the decision tree diagram. So let's get that first. That will give us the clarity for next set of questions. So year 1, there are two possible cash flows, either 50,000, 60,000, and the probability are 0.4 and 0.6. And those will further divide into 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, cash flow 24,000, 32,000, 24,000. And the second probability will further divide into 0.4, 0.5, 0.1, probability of 40,000, 50,000, 60,000. So let me explain, then you please write it down. You have to write down this part, you have space in your material. Okay, done. Fine. So please look at it. So first year 80,000 initial outlay. Now first year it can be 40,000, sorry 50,000 with 40% probability, or 60,000 with 60% probability. And that year 2 what can happen is further probability is there 20%, 30%, 50%, and year 2 probability again 40%, 50%, 10%. So how do you compute the joint probability? 0.4 into 0.2 means 0.08, 8%. 0.4 into 0.3, 0.12, 12%. 0.4 into 0.5, that is 0.2, that is 20%, and so on. What do you mean by this 8% joint probability? If you want to get 50,000 in the year 1, 24,000 in the year 2, 50,000 in the year 1 and 24,000 in the year 2, then the joint probability is 8%. So please write down this chart, then we'll go for the table given in the solution. First write down this chart, 1 minute. Okay, hope you have written down. Now, please again be with me for the next table. It's very simple, but you have to be focused. Please check it here. How many NPVs are possible here? Can you think of it? 6 NPVs. Which are those? One NPV is computing year 1 50,000, year 2 24,000. One possibility. Year 1 50,000, year 2 32,000. Second possibility. Year 1 50,000, year 2 44,000. Third possibility, third set, third scenario. Then 60,000 first year, 40,000 second year, fourth possibility. 60,000 first year, 50,000 second year, fifth possibility. 60,000 first year, 60,000 last year, second year, sixth possibility. So we get 6 possible values, 6 NPVs, then we are going to bringing into one using probability concept. Fine? Very good. Now, all these 6 scenarios, I'm going to write it in a row level. Preparing 6 tables for 6 NPV become too much. So, all those table, I'll convert it to one row. So, each row here represents separate NPV calculation, separate table. So, whatever we used to calculate like year, cash flow, discounting factor, discounted cash flow, I'll convert into a horizontal format. So, same solution is in your material. So, just understand, then you can look at your solution. Plus understand, see cash flow first year 50,000 and cash flow second year 24, one set. Cash flow first year 50, cash flow second year 32, second set, 50, 24, third set, and like that, 6 scenarios. We need discounting factor, which is 0.909. So 50,000 into 0.909, first year discounting factor, present value is 45,450. Similarly, 50,000 into 0.909, 50,000 into 0.909, 60,000 into 0.909, that is one first year cash flows into present value terms. Second year cash flow, 24,000 multiplied by 0.826, you get 19,824. Okay, so 24,000 into 0.826 is 19,824, like that. 32,000 into 0.826, 26,432. 44,000 into 0.826, 36,344. 40,000 into 0.826, 3340, and so on. So basically we are supposed to prepare 6 tables for 6 NPVs. I am doing it in one table with 6 rows. 6 tables becoming 6 rows. Then what do? We got the present value of first year cash flow, first year and second year cash flow present value. We need the total. So 45,450 plus 19,824, that is 65,274, like that. 45,450 plus 26,432. See, these are all different present value of cash flows. Then what do you do? I need NPV, subtract investment 80,000. So 65,274 minus 80,000, 14,726. 71,882 minus 80,000, 8118. 81,794 minus 80,000, 1794, like that. So you see 6 tables if I prepared, I would have got 6 NPVs. I got those 6 NPVs. So 6 scenarios, 6 NPVs. I need one number, convert this into average, that is multiplied by joint probability. In the addition tree we have calculated that 8%, 12% and all. So multiply. So this is the x value, this is P, this is x into P. Do the total, we get expected NPV. Since expected NPV is more than 0, we say project should be accepted. Oh, actually in the, okay, fine. Accept the project since accept NPV is more than 0. And they asked worst case NPV, best case NPV. Now worst case NPV is how much? Worst case NPV, lowest NPV 14,726, probability is 8%. And best case NPV is highest NPV 24,100, it's 6%. That's all the problem. Please write down. Okay, I've given solution. Please go through it. 1 minute. See if you have any question. Please go through it. 1 minute. I think, in fact, I think one question we did not do in the previous problem. Hope you got this one. Decision tree, joint probability problem. One more question is there, but before that, I think in the previous one I forgot to explain one thing. I would like to cover that. Yeah, second part of the problem we did not discuss it actually. Second part of the problem. If risk adjusted discounting rate method is used, which product would be appraised, which project would be appraised with a higher rate and why? So this is not a practical problem. We just have to identify which is the riskier project. Please look at this. For project M, 0.8, 0.7, 0.5. For project N, 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. Higher certainty equivalent means what? Higher certainty, lower confidence. No, higher certainty, higher confidence, lower risk. So when you know you are guaranteed you get, that means your confidence is high, certainty is high. When certainty is less, that means risk is high. So project M with lower certainty equivalent has got higher risk. So please write down project M with lower certainty equivalents, has got higher risk. Project M has got higher risk, Okay. Now this is problem number 3 and problem number 4 also we did. Decision tree. We have to do one more problem with slightly different probability, and we have problems on replacement, inflation, and also sensitivity analysis. So these things we will take it up in the next session.